So the theme is 7 or 5. I actually put or 5 because the company I work with has two founders. One of them says it's 7 years of work we made. The other one says it's 5. So I don't know. Why am I telling this? Basically, Tadas asked me, one of the organizers. I think the story is a bit weird, and I want to share that current market cliché. Like, if you are doing web, you have to do front-end application, back-end application, do serverless and microservices. It's not always the best solution, maybe, and sometimes there are other solutions that might work as well. Over the presentation, on the right side of the slides, you will see these kind of KPIs I will try to follow. You will understand over the span of presentation why am I presenting those and why they are important. It will look like this, right? So let's dive in. The initial contact was a year ago. I met two founders. They're actually awesome guys with awesome idea. They were making the largest online B2B pharmaceutical marketplace. They say they want to have a lean startup approach where they can release fast, iterate fast, learn fast, and make their conclusions on it. And they are currently on major cutting-edge platform refactoring. They're rewriting their stuff. So at that point, I actually knew that there are 4 people working, and their release is their releases are happening once every 2 weeks. I then met the team. They were presenting me what they have in stock. My first impressions were that they showed me their Confluent site. There's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of documentations. I was kind of amazed because usually startups are choosing working software over documentation, so I thought that's a good thing. Then I learned that their average deployment times while they are deploying the releases is around 30 to 40 minutes each time. Then they showed me that they have a lot of diagrams for every database model. I thought super cool. This is maybe the first time I actually seen that well documented stack anywhere. They said we have the simple architecture. I remember sitting, well, that's a lot of Pycons, but maybe that's needed. And they said, but we are making it a bit more simple. I was like, okay, even more icons. And then I say, okay, can you show me the code? I want to have a look at the code. Can we go through it, right? What does it do? How is it structured and all that? And the first thing actually that catched my eye was the API keys inside the code. It was they presented me the good practices document, and I see the API keys. So guys, maybe environments. Then I seen it's the business logic in the front back and on the back end, some in the GraphQL, and I was like, maybe, well, I don't know, maybe, but maybe not. And those queries were consumed all over the place and used all over the place, and it kind of got me a bit suspicious. And I said, okay, but you have a new project, right? You're refactoring everything. So they showed me that code. There was a lot of focus on folder structure of that new product. I was actually super fond of it. I like structure. I'm all about the structure. They said everything is super usable. We are using the components inside of the components. We're building components. I say, can you show me an example? Yeah, there is no example, but we will do that. We're definitely going to do that at some point. And of course, there were no tests. I asked for the test because they said to me our components are super testable. Well, that got me a bit more suspicious. And then I said, guys, actually, I do have some security concerns because, you have business logic in multiple places. And how do you kind of, assure that you're giving the right things to the right people, right? So it's simple. It's really simple. Look, there is this kind of, a window in Hasura where you tick some boxes. Then there is another window where you tick some boxes. And there is this, the third window. And it's like that. So, well, okay. So, meeting ended. I left with the impression that the team thinks that I'm quite incompetent with my questions, and I actually thought that I got a bad feeling about this, and the bad feeling was that I won't be getting the contract, and they just won't call me back. So the next day, with that bad feeling, I actually launched development tools. I got to their platform, and actually I got some manufacturer's data, which I thought I shouldn't be getting. I reported back to them and said, it's not a big thing, actually. You got, their names or something, but we are presenting those later in the workflow, so it's not a biggie. After an hour, I said, I got all the manufacturer's data, all of it, basically all of it. That's not good, I guess, because you shouldn't be getting that. After some time, I actually got all of the data, like all of the manufacturers and clients' data, but for that I need to log into the platform. I contacted the client's team, I was like super professional and all that, and they said, yeah, thank you, they were amazed. And that actually helped me to get the contract. So that started the first month of me working there. And the only downside of that for the upcoming 3 months, I was referred that upon joining the meeting, this is the guy who stole our data, not like the head of engineering, but that guy. So I was kind of introduced. They said this is our new project. It's built on Next.js. We are finalizing it. It's finished straight. You have to do the engineering management stuff like define processes, create managing backlog flow and all that. I actually did that, but I was still kind of looking at the models. I was still curious on digging the entire workflows they are implementing, because I still have a feeling that the way the platform was built was kind of over complex for the tasks that it's supposed to have built for, right? So I was super happy since I got the scope defined. We worked a lot with the head of UX. We got all the wireframes, we got the release code locked. I was kind of, okay, now we need to code and we'll be there in no time. I kind of estimated that our functional coverage is around 40% at that point, and we were in the second month. So I went doing various initiatives. One of the more interesting one that we kind of obfuscated all the data of the real clients. We kind of obfuscated that so we could safely use it in the development, staging environments. It was auto-synced and all that. So if somebody would steal it, it wouldn't be a big problem. I was doing the one-on-ones, trying to improve the release. Process was improved, where we were releasing twice a week. We were actually at the 70% approximately of things done, but still, I still couldn't understand, why we are deploying 40 minutes. How is the platform? How robust is it, right? And where are the logs? We don't even have the logs, and we're going live in a couple of weeks. So I did simple thing. I set up Uptime Robot. Have to begin somewhere, right? We don't have separate person to do the load testing, That's why I thought I would do that. I don't sleep much, so. And I found out that we have the whooping availability of 80%. That meant that average 4 hours and 40 minutes a day, the platform was just offline because it crashed. Okay, then I started investigating. I set up K8 load tests. I found out that 10 concurrent users just crash server, 5 crash server as well, 3 crash server most of the time. Sometimes it works, and when it works, its average response time is around 1.2 seconds for the main pages that are on the platform. So I felt like syncing because, well, that's totally not good, and we are we have to release very soon. Founders told me, we are doing all this refactoring because our plan is to have very good SEO Lighthouse scores, so Google will like us, and it will get a lot of organic traffic. So I set up automated Lighthouse auditing, so we could monitor how are we doing, and that was very bad. The expectation was around 90 or more. The top score was for the best practices, but it wasn't even 90 actually. So yeah, syncing. So that was the starting point. Release in a week or two. Project is running out of memory without any load. It was sitting there on the server and just crashing. On the load, it just died, faster and in a predictable way. And well, Lighthouse metrics are falling short. We are on month 3. So I need to come up with a plan, head of engineering, right? So the plan was, I presented it for the board, for the investors. I said we will fix memory leaks. We may think of uplifting the old project for some time to, and that was we need kind of refactor everything again. I was just kind of, I didn't want to say it because they were doing that for a year already, and that was the most retarded thing to say, and I was just it might be an option, but what I actually did, I kind of support the team fixing the current stuff so we could actually somehow stabilize the memory leaks and release something. And at the nights I was looking for the stack that would have MVC or MVM like structure or RAM, the plating out, and rich major libraries repository, because I knew for a fact that we don't have time to code anything basically. So I was like a duck. I was kind of looking cool, but working hell most of the nights. So like the 1st of February, I kind of did create the repository. I chose Django because spoiler alert. And at the similar time, we actually launched that crashing project. It was like crashing a bit less, but still crashing. And I won't tell you how I was fixing the old project with the team. I would rather try to somehow squeeze what I have done in what order to get the new project running, as it is possible to do in 10 minutes. So I started with the model migration. There was actually a huge database, but Django is an awesome system. I ran this command, so I had like most of the stuff done automatically for me. I actually manually moved most of the classifiers, choices, and other stuff from the front, back, and whatever else I could find. So I kind of constructed everything in the Django model. Then I said, okay, I have the data. I need the ability to authorize or authenticate and then authorize user to access the data. So I kind of used the custom backend because Django has already most of the things done to allow user to log in using their old hash and then convert it to a proper one. I used Django social auth, I think the package is called, with some extensions to allow users to use their social accounts. Then I've heard the legends that the search was done like a month in the previous system. So I then jumped into the search. I used Elasticsearch. Django has pretty neat packages for that as well. So I kind of built Elasticsearch indexes and structures. I populated that with the data. And that was kind of the first time I had some kind of real application working. So you could log in and do the search. Simple. And that was working way better than the previous one. Even on the, without much optimizations and all that, I was kind of squeezing in 0.5 seconds for the response, and server didn't crash for no reason. So I kind of created a plan in my head that now I have to nail and show how fast we can create all the screens, which we had like tons of those. So I was kind of investigating majorly free packages for templating. I chose the default one because it has like the best documentation, and I actually kind of liked it and I didn't want to experiment much. Then for the styling, I went with from the Bootstrap, Materialize, and Tailwind. Tried all three of those, but went with the Tailwind because I like the way it is built, and I like the fact that our designer actually kind of used for his inspiration used mostly the Tailwind templates. So we arrived at the first working concept. Founders actually, while I presented what I've done over that time, they approved the idea that we are rewriting the stuff again. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. The main guy behind the New Hope, the previous project, actually left the company. He was kind of sad about the fact that we are changing stack, we are changing the direction, and his work is no longer relevant per se. So the Phoenix, I actually called the project Phoenix, I don't know why, became the official New Hope, and everyone was super skeptical. I mean, everyone left said that having like this, what's it called? This system will definitely fail. I mean, it's not scalable. It's old school. It's just terrible. We will fail. We will crash and burn. But well, we had to go somewhere with it, and we went. So the next thing I actually focused a lot on was to create the ability for us to do quick releases, quick automated releases and test runs. So there are like multiple choices. Previously we used Circle CI. I tested some of them, and then one night I just sat down and wrote the freaking GitHub action script, which kind of ran the necessary containers, then checked their health. If they were healthy, the script kind of routed and jinxed traffic to those containers and shut down the old ones. Easy peasy, works until this day without any problems. Then I was super afraid that we had like a lot of long taking operations. So I just went with the RQ everything approach. Basically, we had this agreement. If user doesn't need it now on the screen, we're putting that in the queue. That's it. Simple as that. We use Django or queue, there is like dot in queue, there are multiple like job decorators and whatnot. So basically, if user doesn't need it now, you do it in the queue. That's it, simple as that. And that paid off very, very quickly because that reduced operations times even more in most cases and allow us not to, have any hassle with it. I didn't want to be caught with the pants down like the last time, so I actually set up the alerting, logging, and monitoring once the project was approved pretty early. I use Grafana Loki for the log aggregation and collection. I use the Prometheus for runtime metrics. I use the Grafana to stack everything together and display it for myself and basically send the alerts. And I use the automated lighthouse auditing to know that on each release, are we not screwing up things, basically, per se. After a while, we arrived at the main release candidate. Oldest working guy left the company as well, because he didn't want to see us crash and burn. Django is not for everyone, I guess. The one guy that was left still said, we will definitely fail. I actually tried to look for the Slack messages because he said, we will definitely fail. It was kind of month 5, but I knew like a bit more than I knew before, and I knew for sure that our response time on at 95 percentile for the main pages was 270 milliseconds on average. I knew that we are running 100% of the time, without any crashes. I knew that we are doing releases at least 2 to 5 times a day now. I know that our deployment now takes 1.5 minutes tops. Actually, the longest one I recorded was 2 minutes. Once you kind of, merge the stuff, after 2 minutes it's live. And I knew that we have the functional coverage of 60%, so I was kind of cool about that. And I also knew that our performance metrics were above 90. They were not 100, but they were consistently above 90. And it was month 6. So before going prod, we needed to choose some kind of core to host the server. I did some load testing, I did some research, I did this and that, and I went with the unicorn. I like the log as well. And I like the fact that it's kind of ASCII friendly, so yeah, we started with 16 workers. I do believe that we are still using 16 workers in our deployment. And you know what, it just works. The guy that said we will definitely fail afterwards wrote me, I never doubted you. I couldn't find it in the Slack history because Slack history is only like half year old or something because it's not like beta or whatever. So we started with this and we ended up like, because some guys left. Actually, the last guy left as well, so we had to hire 2 more guys for half FTE and 0.25 FTE. So we had like 1.75 person working on the project instead of 4. Actually, it's 5 with me. Then we had like 6 times faster response times on our all critical paths. We had like normal uptime. We were releasing around 12 times a day. Actually, one release counted for 1 ticket more or less, sometimes a bit more, but we were still at 1.5 minutes deployment and we had like 60% done. And it was month 6, by the way. That's an interesting fact. For the rest of the time, we were chasing perfection. I actually wanted to make all the sites 100% CO, 100% performance, 100% accessibility, 100% everything. We've done a lot of stuff to achieve that, but one of the more impactful things that we actually did is to get the fast storage, static file storage. I tried S3, I tried R2, which was kind of out at that time. It has like S3 API with some limitations, but I managed to make it work. I tried to do DigitalOcean spacing, and I ended up just doing freaking my own server with Nginx and GCPod. It was fastest with Cloudflare on top. It cached some of the things, and it was working fastest in Europe, in our target region where I could actually test interesting stuff. So perfection was achieved. This is the actual screenshot of the actual page of the actual platform. After we did that, as expected, we got this kind of 30 or 35% increase of organic traffic from Google because Google liked our page and positioned it a bit higher. We get a bit more load, I would say. This is actually the sample from, I think, a month ago, because once I was doing presentation, I actually understood that I am keeping like only month-old data in fun. But we're running around like, what's here, like 6K, up to 7K. Actually, these are responses, so we are kind of managing that much responses in the platform. And for those who will ask you, will it scale? Yeah, it will. I tried it. There are multiple ways to do it. You can create more queue containers to chew your stuff faster. You can create more web containers to get more. You can actually do cluster database, Redis, Elasticsearch, whatever are you using. It will scale. It's not monolith. It's basically middle. So time's up. Trust Django. I actually did like a lot of research and I had a lot of fears choosing this platform because I thought that will it work? Will it not that more people like I don't know people who are using it that could assure me it will work. Just freaking use it. It will work. Trust. Vertically integrated architectures, as I got this name from the book called Vertically Integrated Architectures, are actually nice in the startup because you have everything at your fingertips, right? You have like your model, your view, your control, your wire, everything up, and you just fire it in the production and you see it working. And do not overcomplicate stuff. I actually spent a lot of time, trying to use technologies and ended up just, using either scripts or like my own server. So yeah, that's it. I kind of squeezed in the time. I know I run through everything super fast, but if you have a question, there are contacts. If you want to talk with me, I will be outside for at least a half an hour, then I will leave to Kaunas now to hit the track. Thank you.
Also, we have 3 more minutes, so I think we have time for, I don't know, 1 or 2 questions, depends on the length of the questions.
Super quick one. How much did you work, like daily?
Once I was trying to prove that we have to refactor, I worked too much. I was trying to fix the stuff, and afterwards it was like 5 o'clock. I eat, I be with the kids until 8 or 9, and I work until like 1 or 2 or sometimes 4. I remember when I was trying to figure out how the old encryption worked because it was like flawlessly done. At some point they understood that they have SH1 coded password hashes, which is not secure. So just they just kind of, some developers that were working, they just kind of took those and encrypted them with MD5 again. And it took me like at the 4 o'clock at the morning, I actually found that place and said, okay. And I needed to somehow allow the old mechanism to work and the new one because old users then could not log in, or either I cannot like remake their passwords even. So yeah, I worked a lot. I mean, basically. Once, around month 6 or 7, I was working pretty normal hours, I would say, until 5 or 6. But I love to code, so sometimes I was coding weekends. If the weather is not that good, I was coding weekends. Yeah.
One more short question. Anyone?
Did you charge for 4 people or only yourself after the contract finished?
Question was, did he charge for 1 person or 4 people?
Sadly, I charge only for like 8 hours of work and for 1 person. Stupid me, I know, but I'm learning. This was like the first.
By project basis.
Yeah.